you been tested for any age-related illnesses, pre-Parkinson's, or anything like that that might explain sort of having a night like that where you couldn't finish sentences?
Look, I had before, I was feeling so badly before the debate. When I came back, they tested me for, I thought maybe I had COVID, maybe there was something wrong, I had an infection or something. They tested me, they gave me those tests, I was clear. So, but look.
Yeah, a COVID test. Hey, sir, have you been tested for dementia? Yes, I've been tested for COVID. And I laughed there, of course. It's okay. It's okay. I'm done telling you, and I'm sure you're done telling the world about how this man is so far gone. Well, he is, and we've known that for 3 years or 2.5 years, something around that nature, right? And it's here we are. And he is not going anywhere. I do not think he's going anywhere. I don't think Hunter or Nurse Jill are going to let Joe go anywhere. And I think this is it. And if he doesn't step down, you ain't going to have a situation where he's going to get out, because they cannot remove him unless he wants to step down. And Kathleen Kamala would have to take over, and she would lose. And not only that, but she's the only one that gets that $200 million war chest. You will not get a $200 million war chest in 3 months. You will not get it, and you will not execute it. The machine's there, but you will not have the money. You cannot legally have that money. And Joe has been clear to tell all the Democrats, and he's literally using it as a threat. Kamala will be in charge if you leave me. She'll be in charge, and like, oh, so he's saying that she's so bad that this is what she'll get. Okay, I wanted to focus on a few things. We talked about the New York Post, Miranda Devine, and what she said. And she says that Hunter is a lot more intelligent. He's in on all these meetings. Knowing them on a familiar level, they will have to be dragged out, says a former Biden friend, family friend. I think the Bidens are going to fight all the way into the ground, said another. They only give an S word about themselves and the Bidens. Hunter also is fearless, Miranda Devine says, New York Post columnist. Who wrote that book called Laptop from Hell. Hunter's fearless and willing to fight to the death to get what he wants. And I believe that. It's also, you want to get a real, like, oh my gosh, it's also a dry run for his own political ambitions. He is going to run for office, is what she says. So now I want to ask you about who you think is in charge, who's calling the shots. And then I'm going to tell you also about Woodrow Wilson and his wife. And Joe Biden is the new Woodrow Wilson. He's not in charge. His wife is. Deborah in Arlington, you've called in at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. As I'm asking, who do you believe is calling the shots? Who are the ones really in charge? Who's relaying what's happening out there to Joe in this protective bubble, which we all know exists? And do you trust Hunter and Nurse Jill to try to run our country for the next 6 months? So with that, Deborah, hi, WBAP.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I believe that Hunter and Jill may have some say-so, but I believe who's really calling the shots and who has been calling the shots since Biden took office is Obama.
That's quite possible.
He's the only president. Think about it. He's the only president that has never left Washington. He stayed right there. Once his term was complete, constant traffic coming and going from the White House to his house.
Yes.
Constant traffic.
And a lot of visits to his mansion in Hawaii, where he lives in a heavily minority poor community, obviously, just like his house on Martha's Vineyard. I'm sure it's high minority, very poor, impoverished island, obviously. But I do believe that all of his top people are there, like Susan Rice and et al. But really, they're all staffing it. And he doesn't really know what's going on as nearly as much as we used to think. Perhaps he's not, and they're telling him what they want him to know, and what they don't want him to know, they're keeping from him. But I believe this is all facilitated, and ultimately, it's at the decision of Nurse Jill and Hunter. Don't you? I mean, aren't they the ones that could literally say, "Dad, it's over." Honey, it's over. I'll have to support our family with my nursing degree.
Well, yes, to some degree, yes.
Because they could get him out.
Closest.
I think Biden wants to use Obama's using him as a husk for himself, a shell. But here's the big question: Can he control cackling Kamala? Will he be able to exert the same influence over Obama, over former President Hussein Obama, over cackling Kamala? I mean, does anybody know that?
Oh no! I mean, for Kamala to step in. Is that what you're asking?
Well, I'm saying, would she obey and follow the Obama people, or would she be her own boss?
I totally think she would. I don't
know. I mean, 28 staffers left her. She had 28 staffers leave because she's a disaster and miserable to work for, and all this stuff. And I
believe that. I mean, I'm not doubting that. But
well, then how's she going to listen to people with Obama that are in there? Why does she? She can fire them.
Well, that's true too. But I think all the Democrats, the diehard Democrats that are going to stand behind their revolution and whoever is elected, who is ever put in that place, they're going to be there.
That's why they're going to support Joe if he doesn't get out, and he won't get out.
No, he's not going to get out.
No.
He's not going to get out. And I pray, like what you said earlier, that President Trump
keeps quiet.
Just keep his mouth shut.
Yes.
Don't say anything this time. Just keep it low key. He's already burying himself. Let him just keep digging.
He did it about 75% of the time in the debate, which is why he won it, but he did stick his foot in his mouth about a quarter of the time. And tonight, I did not catch, we'll be playing excerpts of it either later tonight or tomorrow, of President Trump, his interview earlier tonight on Fox.
Yeah, I didn't catch anything tonight. I have been out, unfortunately, an unfortunate circumstance. So I was out of touch. But when I got back in the car, I turned you guys on and started listening, and I'm like, wow. Yeah, I'm excited to hear what
you got to hear about Woodrow Wilson, and he literally is a new iteration of Woodrow Wilson. It's incredible. All right, thanks for your great call, Deborah. Look forward to your next one. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Okay, here's the Woodrow Wilson story. And again, my questions are: who do you believe is calling the shots right now in the White House? Who are the ones really in charge? I believe that Hunter is relaying messages to Nurse Jill, or AKA not a Dr. Jill Biden, and I think they're calling the shots. And remember, Hunter is in all these meetings now. Hunter hates former President Hussein Obama. He hates him. And again, that's Miranda Devine saying it because she went through that laptop, and there were so many correspondence with Hunter, whether it be emails, calls, all sorts of stuff in that Apple data that's been gone through. He does not like the Obamas at all. In fact, he thought they disrespected him, his dad, by the way they treated him and felt negatively of him and threw him under the bus for something Hunter wrote about in his emails or something, in his communication, something about how his dad, they threw him under the bus for something he didn't do, that kind of stuff. So Dad's incredible. How dare they treat him that way? That's the kind of thing. Remember, Devine says today in her column that Hunter may view this whole situation as a dry run for his own political ambitions, which totally makes sense. From crack addict and man whore and sex trafficker, alleged sex trafficker and tax evader, to becoming the next major Democrat figure. I totally see that happening. All right, next, as promised, Woodrow Wilson. How Mrs. Wilson ran the White House for the last year and a half. With a cloistered away Woodrow Wilson, and how I believe not a Dr. Jill Biden, a.k.a. Nurse Jill, and Hunter are running that White House. I truly believe they're the ones shielding Dad, protecting him and telling him what to make of things, and helping him interpret what the meetings are, because Dad can't figure it out half the time anymore. I do believe. That is up next on the Chris Crock Show, plus your call, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227 on News Talk 820 WBAP.
As his life partner of 46 years, is there a part of you that is worried about his age and health? Can he do it?
He can do it, and I see Joe every day. I see him out traveling around this country, I see his vigor, I see his energy, I see his passion every single day.
Well, there is Nurse Jill saying how incredible Joe is. We can't keep up with him. He's amazing. Here's what I strongly believe. I believe that Nurse Jill, I came up with this hypothesis by absorbing everything this past week that we've watched and seen unfold in front of our eyes. And I believe that, and one of the best things I ever heard was that Woodrow Wilson, the story of Woodrow Wilson and his wife Edith, and how she ran the White House. She ran this country for the last year and a half of her administration. She was the president. And I'm going to share with you some details from PBS, Smithsonian, and others on how Mrs. Wilson ran the country, his second wife. And that's exactly what I think is happening. I think Hunter is, having Nurse Jill go in there would be apparently just too over-the-top ridiculous. While she is a physician, clearly, and a registered nurse, obviously, she's just not qualified to be in there and doing something. Now, I don't know why Hunter is, but I guess they figured it'd be better for Hunter. It would look better. I don't know what that's all about. But Hunter, I believe, is coming back, relaying everything in these meetings to Nurse Jill, and then he and Nurse Jill are... it's Joe, no, Joe, this is what's going on. And Joe, this is what we're going to do. Joe, you got to handle it like this. And then you're so amazing. Just like she said in the middle of that rally immediately after the president's debate.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the... And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do?
Yeah. You knew all the answers, Joe. You answered all the questions. Okay. She is Mrs. Woodrow Wilson. And who is this? From the PBS story, did the U.S. have a secret female president? Yes, we did. And her name is Edith Bowling Galt Wilson, Woodrow Wilson's wife. Woodrow Wilson, while in office, he was in office for 8 years from 1913 to 1921. He had a massive stroke on October 2nd, 1919. Edith was, quote, his constant attendant. She took over many routine duties and details of the government. She called it in her book a few years after his presidency. She called it in her book that her stewardship of the president, but she actually was the president. PBS elaborates, quote, she protected her husband's health at all costs. She allied with his loyal physician. See this? Dr. O'Connell has been Joe's physician for forever and a day. He also may be compromised monetarily from the Biden family. I'll get to that a little later. But PBS says that Edith Wilson protected her husband's health at all costs. She allied with his loyal physician to shield the president from all outside visitors. Sounds just like Joe. Edith began to handle the day-to-day responsibilities of the chief executive. If there were some papers requiring his attention, they would be read to him, but only those that Mrs. Wilson thought should be read. The time period that Mrs. Wilson reportedly stewarded, quote-unquote, over the many routines of the president's executive role, that's the direct quote from her, executive role, was from October 1919 to March 1921. That's 1.5 years, guys. Woodrow Wilson's wife was the president for a year and a half. The Smithsonian says, quote, though her Oval Office authority was acknowledged in Washington circles at the time, one senator called her the presidentress. Got that? The presidentress. As in princess or whatever, presidentress, who had fulfilled the dream of suffragettes by changing her title from first lady to acting first man. Her legacy as the first woman president is now largely forgotten. Well, you have a new one who's just like her, and that's Nurse Jill Biden. Or not a Dr. Jill, whichever you prefer. Okay? Nurse Jill is my new favorite one. So that is what we're seeing. We're seeing, I believe, Hunter and Nurse Jill are running the country. and I do believe the Obama sycophants are in there, but I actually think that it's Hunter and Nurse Jill, because the Obama sycophants would probably get him to step down if they could. You noticed Mr. Former President Hussein Obama said, we all have bad debates. And what has he said since then? Nothing. He's waiting, he's watching. All right. Who do you believe is calling the shots? Who are the ones really in charge? Who's relaying what's happening out there to Joe Biden in his protective bubble? And do you trust Hunter and Nurse Jill to run our country for the next 6 months? 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Tori in Dallas, you are on. Thanks for listening to WBAP. Hello.
Hey, Chris.
Hey.
Okay, so just hearing Jill right now talking about, I see him every day, and I see his vigor and his passion.
Yep.
Like, okay, I'm a widow, so I've lost my husband, but I just can't, and I can't imagine, like, okay, if someone's got to be blackmailing her or something, as you said, calling the shots, because I just cannot imagine as a wife letting my husband go out and parading him around, and my ill husband, you know what I mean? He's obviously declining. I mean, I don't know how they did. I don't know how they deny that.
Well, let me say this.
A wife, like, holy cow, what do they have on her, or what amount of, I can't even imagine money, though.
You think they have
money someone would pay me to do that to my husband?
You think they have a picture of her with a goat or something? That's why she's...
Right. And usually I don't believe the whole, there's a body, he's got a, it's someone in a mask. But at this point, I'm like, is it? Because how could she do that to her own husband? So
here's what I think it is.
Like,
I think what you're failing to realize this is a woman who was so insecure about not having a title, and so insecure she actually publicly said this, that she was not happy about. I want to finish this, but I don't want to rush it. Can you stand by?
Sure.
Stand by. I'm going to tell you the rest of the story about why I believe Nurse Jill is in charge and is doing this for her own personal benefit. I'm going to tell you why and how next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Plus, I'm going to give you more audio from, let's see, Donna Brazil on the delegates. You got to hear that. She's one of the super delegates. All that next on the Chris Crock Show, 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP.
Those delegates who have, by and large, been supportive of the president, they have pledged to the president, they will submit their ballots, hopefully within 1 week, and we will probably ascertain better than any pollster, better than any pundit, better than any strategist, just where the president stands with his own delegates. Because once the delegates nominate him, then the president will have to go to the convention and either release those delegates by making an announcement, or the Democratic Party will have to decide the day after the convention, where do we go from here?
Donna Brazil used to be interim DNC chair, is certainly a superdelegate, and there she was explaining things. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. As promised, I want to go through with Tori why I do not think the president is... why I think that... Nurse Jill and Hunter are calling the shots and everything. Now, Tori, where do we leave off again? My head's been spinning. I've been pulling cuts. I have, by the way, coming up in just a few minutes, I'm going to play a whole bunch of highlights from Trump's interview tonight from Fox News with Shawn Hannity. It's pretty incredible what he's saying tonight. But Tori, where were we?
You're not allowed to lose train of thought, Chris. I'm just kidding. You're saying that she is...
What?
That's not you're a professional. I'm just kidding.
I'm not a professional. Go ahead.
You were talking about how insecure she is.
Yes, thank you. I just need a fresh reminder. I do that all the time. I have early on stage set dementia like Joe, whatever now.
Don't say that name.
I know. Yeah. Here's the deal. Okay. This was incredible to me, and this is a real serious thing to me for a problem somebody has personally. Okay, Jill Biden was, in her own words in an interview, is super insecure, and she could not stand to see mail coming in for Senator Joe and Jill Biden, or Joe and Jill Biden. And so she literally said that her insecurity about not seeing her name come first or seeing a title, instead of going and getting that God-sized hole in her heart filled with God, or instead of going to a psychiatrist, and I would recommend both, actually, or licensed practicing counselor, to see why it is that you feel insecure because of some title. So that's what it was. And she went and got this doctorate degree in teaching, but here's the problem. She rushed it through. Tucker Carlson went over when they got a hold of it, and it's riddled with basic mathematical errors. It's riddled with many spelling errors and syntax errors that are incredibly poor for somebody on a doctoral thesis. So she phoned it in, and she did a piss-poor job, and she just wanted the title doctor. And I think the right title is not a Dr. Jill or Nurse Jill, but she's so insecure she can't just be happy with being content with who she is. And so a woman like that, to wear the stilettos and to be in the front, to be campaigning for Joe on my Facebook page, I urge everybody to see it. It's still towards the top of my Facebook page, at Chris Kroc Show. That's at Chris Kroc Show, CHRASKROK. Click on the public figure, click like, and go down. You'll see she is yelling and screaming at that post-debate rally, and you can see her really ugly, nasty face. Yes. Like she's like angry, mad, screaming. That's who she is, as far as you will not take away the prestige, the title, the trappings. So this is her identity. This is who she is. This is everything. This is her last hurrah and her greatest hurrah in her life she'll ever have. She does not want to give this up. Second of all, she does have a vested interest, obviously, in Hunter. She was at his trial and everything. And this is his ticket. This is his meal ticket to continue the train going. She's got another 10 to 20 years of life, possibly, unlike Joe. She's like, I think, 10 years or 12 years old, younger than him. So, and females have a longer life expectancy as it is. So I think she's 70, 72. I don't know. She's got another 20 years. So this is big, and she has big plans for her title in the future. So she ain't giving this up. She will not. And she will be Mrs. Woodrow Wilson, running the presidency, and I think Hunter's doing it in tandem with him. And then eventually, I think the idea that Miranda Devine laid out, that this is his possible future feelers for being a political candidate down the road. So those are my thoughts. I know you're also properly in saying the Hussein Obama people are still running the show. I agree with that too. I appreciate your call, Tori, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. You take care.
All right, you too. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Here's the big question. Is Donald J. Trump able to... Tonight was his first interview after the debate, like at least maybe first in-depth one, with Hannity. And he's on the phone. I've been pulling and culling excerpts of it for you. And I'm going to play it now because it's breaking news. It truly is, to me at least personally, President Trump's first, and I believe it is. And if it's not, it might as well be to me and to you. It's his first interview since after the debate. Okay. And he's on a very friendly environment. He and Hannity are longtime very good friends. And so here he is. Here's clips of President Trump tonight on Hannity's show. And you and I should be grading it and giving our thoughts on this, because the key is Trump going to stand back and let Biden continue to destroy himself, as he has for weeks now, wisely? Let him blow himself up. Let him shoot himself in the foot. Here we go.
Since before the 2020 election, on radio and TV, I have chronicled the fact that Joe looked weak and frail and that he was a cognitive mess, long before the election in 2020. The media, I call them state-run media, Democrats, they're all acting shocked, like this just came out of nowhere. Is this one incident, or is it, is this something permanent? I'm like, did they not notice the guy can't give a press conference? Did they not notice that he doesn't use the big boy stairs getting on Air Force One? Did they not notice the plan to surround him as he walks to and from Marine One? That he wouldn't do a Super Bowl interview, a layup interview for any president, really. What part of his cognitive decline do you think they missed, or did they purposely cover for him, in your view?
Well, they cover for him, and they still are sort of covering, but now it's getting very difficult to do that. And, it looks to me like he may very well stay in. He's got an ego, and he doesn't want to quit. He doesn't want to do that. It just looks to me like that's what he wants. I think Jill would like to see him stay. She's having a good time. I notice she really seems to be having a good time, and I'm hearing that Hunter is calling the shots. So this isn't necessarily a very positive thing for our country. But I think he, might very well stay in, and if he does, nobody wants to give that up that way. He's going to feel badly about himself for a long time. It's hard to give it up that way, the way where they're trying to force him out. So, you really have to speak to his doctors, but obviously he's been sheltered by the fake news media. That's why they call it the fake news.
Okay, now. All this is available on my Twitter feed, at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show, ChrisKrock. I've got so much more, too. And your comments on it. Here's the key. Does he go after Joe personally? Does he get nasty about his condition? Or does he pretty much let it be so that it can continue to self-destruct, so that Trump doesn't insert himself and make things more difficult? Let's continue to play this here. Boom, President Trump tonight with Hannity.
And you could feel a lot of energy. Boy, energy like you haven't felt.
Oh, he's talking about the debate here, by the way.
Well, it was a big evening, and you could feel a lot of energy. Boy, energy like you haven't felt in a long time. On any of the debates. I've done a lot of debates, and we've had great success with debates, but this was something very special. For whatever reason, it just seemed big. And when I got to Atlanta, and this was at CNN headquarters, there was a lot of excitement. There were trucks, I call them the $10 million trucks. That's with the antennas all over, and very incredible equipment. I'm looking at things that are, it's just more of a scene than it normally would be. And it really was that way right from the start, right from the moment they introduced us, and then they introduced him and introduced me, and I walked out on his arm, and he looked extremely pale, to put it nicely. And I don't know, maybe it was a good makeup job, or maybe it wasn't, but he was a very pale-looking man. And when he started to speak, I don't know, I thought his voice was weak. I didn't know exactly what was happening. It was strange. I do have to say that the CNN, Jake and Dana, were really... they were pretty good. They were. I thought they were fair. I thought they were fair in the questions. I thought to me. But it was a strange evening. I will tell you, it was a strange debate because within a couple of minutes, the answers given by him they didn't make a lot of sense.
Well, there's more. These are the first comments that I'm hearing of President Trump comment after the debate. Checking with all my staff here, are these the first comments you've heard from the president? Check with him too. I'm curious if those are the first comments he's heard as well. I think they are. So this is pretty news breaking here. I'll continue to share these as I play them on my Twitter feed at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show. Your thoughts, your reaction to President Trump's first interview tonight with Hannity. I think he's doing great so far. He's not getting nasty, not getting personal. There's several more sound bites. I'll be playing a few that have come in tonight with Trump in his first interview that I'm aware of after the debate and after the Biden candidacy and campaign implosion. It's amazing to see KJP. It's an unbelievable, unmitigated disaster. Speaking of which, I'm going to play you some of that audio coming up next about how bad this whole press conference went today. For a long time, it was a disaster, and it was an embarrassment for us, too, our country, in front of the world. All that is next, and continuing with more of President Trump's exclusive interview with Shawn Hannity tonight, which already aired, so I'm playing some of the sound bites of it. Continuing on with that and your reaction, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227.
We provide to all of you.
That's a very basic, direct question.
Wait. Hold on. Wait a second.
Eight times, or at least once, in regards to the president specifically.
Hold on a second.
Not what you should be able to answer by this point.
Wait, no. No, wait a minute. Ed, please. A little respect here, please. So every year, around the president's physical examination, he sees a neurologist.
All right, there's a little bit of the chaos from KJP. It was a disaster, and it was an embarrassment, as you would imagine. I've got more audio from President Trump's interview with Shawn Hannity tonight. I'm going to play it for you. It was 18 and a half minutes. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'm going to play some highlights that are coming out tonight. And I got a couple more. All these are available on my Twitter feed as well. At Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show. CHRISKROK. The key on this tonight with his first interview, and in 18 and a half minutes, he sure has a chance to shoot himself in the foot, doesn't he? Well, so far so good. He's not being nasty. You've got to let Joe hang himself. He's entertaining some of the speculative questions. He's entertaining some of the questions about what was the debate like, what did you see, and I'm going to play a couple more pieces of audio that have come out tonight in this Hannity interview a couple hours ago. Here it is.
Do you, Mr. President, do you want Joe Biden to step aside? Do you care?
Well, we prepared for him, but I don't think it's going to matter. We had a great 4 years. Our border was the strongest ever. Our economy pre-COVID was incredible, the best ever.
Okay, now guess what? I got this right now from Fake News CNN. The longest they waited for, I think it was Wilson, and the other one was, I can't remember, there was two of them, LBJ or something. They talked about the amount of time when I think it was Wilson and LBJ when they resigned. And there was like 112 days and 142 days on Fake News CNN. 112 and 142, okay? Biden has given him 42 days. To give you an idea how bad this whole thing is for Biden, if they're going to get him out or not. Right up on that screen moments ago was Fake News CNN, and they had one of their chief guys up there showing the graphics and stuff and walking you through. And Woodrow Wilson, I believe it is, resigned 112 days before, and it looked like LBJ did 114 days before the convention or before the delegates voted, okay? And Biden's doing it with 42 days and still hasn't done it. You see what I'm saying? This is a disaster. And it's a disaster of, ready? Not Joe Biden's making. Ultimately, you could say it is, but it is if you want to have Biden first, that's fine. But really, it's a disaster of the making of the Democrats and of the media, the mainstream media, because they gaslit us for 3 years. They pretended the man was great. Remember, he would do cartwheels. He would walk backwards on his butt cheeks faster than you and I can sprint going forward. The man is incredible. He can walk backwards on a handstand and run faster than you can a mile than you can just running it the mile. The man's incredible. He's a genius. We can't keep up with him. And the media said that, and so did the Democrats. They own it now. This is their fat turd, and they've got to eat it. They can try to polish the turd, but it's over. They're trying to flush the turd down the toilet. They can't. It's not going to happen. And I'm glad. And I don't want him to go. Do you? Do you want Joe to go? I don't. Okay, we have a unanimous decision back here. By the way, do you think this is Trump's first interview right now tonight that we're seeing? I haven't. Yeah, none of us have heard. Okay, good. It's 3 for 3. Up next, more audio of the Trump interview, and then I'm going to ask you, if you were a Democrat, who would you want to replace Biden in the race for president? Who are you most afraid of running against President Trump? Who are you most afraid of running against Trump? That's coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.